Duane Rykhus. The 1953 Brookings High and 1957 South Dakota State grad was a fine all-around athlete, but it was in the pole vault where he really stood out. He was a 3-time state pole vault champion in high school. He used a bamboo pole for the first state title, then went to the metal pole for his final 2 seasons. In 1952, Hoppy set a record of 12 feet 1.5 inches at the Aberdeen Relays, then upped it to 12.2 in winning the ESD meet for the 3rd time. Duane also played in the 1952 state champion basketball team and was an all-state end on the 1952 undefeated Bobcat football team. At South Dakota State, Rykhus was an All-American in the pole vault and was only beaten twice in his college career. He was North Central Conference pole vault champ in 1955 and 56. In 1956, he set a South Dakota State record of 13 feet using a metal pole and landing in a sawdust pit. That year, he placed 6th at the NAIA National Meet. He competed in age group national meets in his 60s, 6 times national champ and 6 times runner-up.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to all the other inductees tonight. Sports have given me some of the biggest thrills of my life and some big disappointments. I do want to thank the people all that associated with the South Dakota Sports Hall of Fame for this honor tonight. And thanks to my family, I'm here tonight. I've got 5 children, 5 children and 4 granddaughters, and a brother from Michigan, and my high school classmate from Newport, Minnesota. And I thank my coaches from high school. Harold White and Norman Johnson were 2 of the best coaches, I think, in high school at the time I was in high school. They were, they helped us to conference championships in football, basketball, and track, and conference championships in football, basketball, and track. Or did I say conference? State champions, state and conference championships. And the one thing I liked about our basketball coaches, when the game started, they sat down on the bench and they didn't wander up and down the floor yelling at the player. And our coaches, they believed the players needed to have 100% of their mind on the game, not on the coach, just on the sideline. And I still believe that's a good philosophy. In 1952, Brookings High School went to Watertown for a basketball game on Friday the 13th, a 13th game of the season. And both teams were good teams. We ended up, Brookings committed 46 fouls that night, Watertown 31. A total of 77 fouls were called in that game. That's when you didn't knock anybody down on the floor. 77 fouls is probably still a record for fouls called in one ball game. But we went into 3 overtimes. In the 3rd overtime, we fouled out our 8th man, have 12 men dressed, so we end up with 4 men on the floor. And with 5-4, Watertown scored and won the ball game. Turns out that was the only ball game we lost all year that year. I started pole vaulting when I was in the 7th grade, using a bamboo pole, landing in a sand pit, which they did give us a shovel to speed up the sand in between times. And when I was a junior in high school, they bought me a new metal pole. And I used that metal pole for 2 more years in high school, landing in the same sand pit and the same shovel that spade up the pit. And we didn't even have a runaway up to the pole vaulting pit. We just ran on the grass to the pit. And then when I went up to college at South Dakota State, Jim Emmerich traded the high school a Swedish steel pole for my aluminum pole, so I could take that up to college and I used it for another 4 years at college. Nowadays, these college vaulters take 5 poles to 1 track meet. And, we didn't have any indoor track at college when I was first got there, but my junior year, Emmerich lined up 3 track meets, so we had to fix up some way to pole vault in practice to get ready for the meets. And Emmerich goes over to a dorm that they're replacing mattress in and brings back a whole pile of mattresses, all the mattresses we wanted. So we put them in a corner and built a little box to plant the pole in and practice indoors. And actually, we had the softest pit that I landed in all in high school or college. Usually in college, we were landing in sawdust pits. And sawdust pits would have the sand bales around it. As you saw in the picture there, the bales or straw bale. Straw bales were not for landing on. They were just to keep the wind from blowing the sawdust away. When I got out of college, I waited 39 years and came back into pole vaulting and vaulted in the Masters meets for another 10 years. In the Masters meets, I got a chance to use a fiberglass pole. And the fiberglass pole would flip the people over so much they land on their back, so they ended up coming up with foam pits instead of the sawdust pits. So all through my early years of pole vaulting, I used bamboo poles and metal poles and fiberglass poles in my senior years and landed on sand pits and sawdust pits and foam mattresses, and now the mats are about 2.5 feet high and all that we landed in the senior games. And people would say when I was vaulting and when I was 60 years old, they say, "It's nice that you can pole vault again, but please don't get hurt." And to me, landing in 2.5 foot of foam, that was a dream come true. So I have enjoyed my pole vaulting years, and the way the weather was this afternoon, I'd like to have been out pole vaulting today, but I decided to come here instead. Thank you, and thanks for this.